I recorded a video yesterday on the proposed fight between Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker. The news came after the WBO ranked Joseph Parker 1 and Anthony Joshua 2, and Joseph Parker released a video calling out Anthony Joshua in order to fight for the WBO #1 spot and become mandatory for Tyson Fury's belt. Now, in that video, I suggested that it was largely ludicrous that both guys were ranked so highly, and secondly, that if I was in charge of managing either guy's career, I would steer them away from fighting each other at this point. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of those arguments because they were in the video I uploaded yesterday. Please do check that out if you'd be interested to hear my thoughts on that in more detail. All I wanted to do is take some time in this video to discuss the comments that I received in reply to the video I posted yesterday, because I must admit I had a very large number of comments from my small YouTube channel on that video, and a lot of people were making the same point, and I started replying to a few of the comments, but to be honest, there were so many comments making the same point that I thought it would actually be easier to make a video and address these comments rather than writing back individually, because there's some misconceptions in my head that I feel I want to address. First and foremost, a lot of people were commenting saying, this is boxing, we want the big fights, let's let the two guys square off against each other right now. You know, there were a few comments comparing it to other big matchups that happened involving two prospects. James DeGale versus George Groves, for example. Joshua versus Dillian White, for example. Tony Bellew versus Nathan Cleverly, for example. Now, I agree with that. And from a fan perspective, yeah, of course I'd like to see Anthony Joshua fight Joseph Parker. It'd be a very entertaining fight. It'd be really hard to pick a winner. However, what I would say, if I was managing the guys, I would stay clear of the fight. And I'm not one of these who thinks having an O next to your record is imperative. You know, I know Floyd Mayweather has made it fashionable to retire undefeated. And I'm not saying that a loss needs to be killer to a fighter's career. It's not necessarily the loss that I'm scared of. What is the point I was trying to make is that these two guys are so far away at present from fulfilling their potential that both of those guys clearly have. I think it would be risky to put them in with each other at this point for fear that they don't do themselves justice. Now, Joshua versus Dillian White last time out, frailties were there. Joseph Parker versus Jason Bergman last time out, to be honest, it was one of Parker's worst performances. You know, there was a lot to work on from both guys in their last fights. And I feel that if they fought now, we wouldn't be getting the best reflection that each fighter could be. Because I think these guys are still young guys, they've got limited amount of fights on their records. They're going to improve so much by having learning fights, educating them, stepping up against more testing opposition. Now I think what's important is we've got to remember that this is the heavyweight division. And not only is it the heavyweight division, but we're talking about two guys here, Joshua and Parker, known for absolutely explosive punching power. Now, let's say one of them were to lose due to a defensive frailty. A defensive frailty that could have been ironed out had they had 3 or 4 more 12-round fights against a higher level of opposition and sort of had their full education and apprenticeship served. Perhaps the result would be different, but most importantly, what we've got to remember is that in heavyweight boxing, a KO loss to a huge puncher can actually be more than taking an O. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried if Joseph Parker's record was, I don't know, 18-1, or Anthony Joshua's record became 17-1. But the question is, what happens in that one? Is one of these guys going to get knocked out so brutally that it damages their career? That they get injured? That it causes them health problems? That they need to take a long time out of the ring? You know, could we see an instance like David Price when he was stepped up too soon, that his career never really recovered from taking that big knockout loss? Certainly a guy like Anthony Joshua, who's got the pay-per-view market eating out of the palm of his hand here in the UK. You know, is his career, is his marketability dead by taking a knockout loss like that? The point I'm making at is, I've got nothing against fighters taking a loss. We don't need to write a fighter off just because they take a loss. But if I was managing these guys, when the frailties are so obvious, and to me, so clearly signs of inexperience, I wouldn't be messing around yet without the proper learning fights and the proper apprenticeship being served. Because let's say Anthony Joshua knocked out Joseph Parker for the sake of it. And let's say it was a devastating knockout. You know, Parker's career is potentially damaged. His reputation, his earning potential, his health is potentially damaged age 23. Wouldn't it be better for him to have another 24 months fighting the Bryant Jennings, the Bermain Staverns, the Ustinovs, the Dimitrenkos of this world? Wouldn't it be better for him to be taken 12 rounds over and over and over again to work on his defence, to work on his skills, so that by the time he's ready to step into the ring with Anthony Joshua, he's able to give the best Joseph Parker there possibly is, you know? And that may mean that he's not the victim of a devastating knockout, and vice versa clearly with Anthony Joshua. So for me, that's one reason I wouldn't put them in together if I was managing them. You know, Joshua's got to think about how much money his future earnings are worth in the UK as well. Let's factor that in. I know boxing fans want the biggest fights, but I want to see the biggest fights between the best fighters. And I just think that these two are going to be much, much better fighters in 12 months' time. You know, there are frailties to both of their games, and as I say, that is anticipated when you're dealing with fighters this young and this early in their career. So it's not a criticism of both, you know. Don't get me wrong, if the fight was made, I'd be buzzing for it. I'd be so excited. But I think I'd be even more excited if the fight was made in 12 months' time and we've seen Joshua take out Takam and Jennings and Parker take out Stavern and Ustinov. You know, then you're looking at a real class fight. Let me change the pace briefly. You know, I was saying that both guys' rankings with the WBO is ludicrous. You know, Parker to be ranked number 1 based on the opposition he's had makes a mockery of the ranking systems. You know, some people were insinuating in the comments this is because the WBO have seen how devastating to the eye Joseph Parker looks, which, to be honest, is ridiculous and farcical for my money. You know, if you're going to rank people, you're going to rank it on proven form. You're going to rank people on things they've done. You know, you're not going to rank it because somebody's looked devastating knocking out a homeless taxi driver. You know, you're going to rank it because they've gone out there and beaten up a Tony Thompson or beaten up a Bryant Jennings. For me, you know, that's how someone goes up the rankings. So first and foremost, you know, I stand firm that these guys shouldn't be ranked in the top 2. Yes, they look devastating, but let me tell you, a guy like Bryant Jennings may look devastating if he was fighting the level of opposition that Joseph Parker has been fighting. And again, that's not a criticism of Parker. He should be fighting that opposition for the stage he's at in his career. It's just a fact that he's too early to rank him that highly. You know, I did my heavyweight rankings last month. I had both guys just outside the top 20 actually, and I believe that's a fair reflection based on form in the book. Now, a lot of people were saying to me, it's not Parker's fault. How can Parker get ranked higher if the guys refuse to fight him? Now, let me say, I understand Parker is a hard guy to match. He's a talented boxer. He looks very dangerous. He carries big punching power. And I do understand there isn't a queue of fighters round the block to fight him. However, Parker is not the most avoided guy in world boxing. You know, even if we look at the heavyweights, globally, Anthony Joshua has a much bigger profile than Joseph Parker. And Anthony Joshua has been able to get lists of opponents, you know, lists of opponents. You know, there's something like 9 opponents in the running to fight Joshua next time out. Big names: Stavern, Takam, Jennings, Depar, Chisora, Charles Martin. You know, and Joshua's got that exposure. So let me ask you, why is it that Joshua's not struggling to get opponents, yet Joseph Parker is? And for me, it's clear 2 things, and they're both linked. 1 is money, and 2 is location. You know, the reason these guys are queuing up to fight Joshua is because Joshua represents a massive payday. You know, Joshua's had 15, 16 pro fights, something like that. And last time, he sold best part of 500,000 pay-per-view buys. Last time, he sold out a packed-out O2 Arena of 20,000 seats. You know, people look at Joshua and they see the money. You know, the opponents aren't scared to fight an Anthony Joshua. They're not scared to fight Joseph Parker. These are boxers. They make their living from punching other guys in the face and taking punishment back. People aren't running scared of Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua. especially given the frailties that to me seem evident in their game. The reason they're gravitating more to the Anthony Joshuas of this world is because it's calculated risk, and it's risk reward. The money is a big factor. Joshua brings huge pay-per-view sales. He brings huge ticket sales. He brings mass platform. If a guy like Bryant Jennings goes and upsets Anthony Joshua in London, Bryant Jennings is right back in the mix. He's going to be getting fights against David Haye. He's going to be getting fights against Tyson Fury. He's going to be getting £1 million offers left, right and centre. Now, Joseph Parker doesn't have that yet. Now, the New Zealand fans have really got behind Parker, and it's a credit to them. I just have to look when I post a video about Joseph Parker. Suddenly, my view count goes up slightly. I get loads of Kiwis commenting on the videos. The guy's a legend in New Zealand, and it's really commendable how the nation has got behind him. I wish Britain could get behind their fighters like that, to be honest. Not kissing arse too much, but you guys have put us to shame in terms of the passion and the strength for your support for your heavyweight prospect. Having said that, New Zealand is clearly a smaller country with a much smaller population that isn't a dominant player in the world boxing scene. For me, if Joseph Parker wants to be getting these grade A opponents, he's going to have to be considering fighting away from New Zealand. That may be with his current promotional team, it may be with different personnel in the backroom. But realistically, if he wants to be fighting ex-world champions, if he wants to be fighting legitimate top 10 heavyweights, he's going to have to be offering them something to do to take that fight. It's either going to have to be mass money, or it's going to have to be the platform that if they go and upset Joseph Parker, they become one of the top heavyweights in the game. And right now, Anthony Joshua is offering that financial payday and that potential reward. Joseph Parker is not. And that is why you see the grade A opponents queuing up to fight Joshua, and the Daniel Martzes and Jason Bergmans of this world queuing up to fight Joseph Parker. Parker's team have done a great job with him, and there's potential for one or two more big fights in in New Zealand or Samoa or Australia, whatever. Perhaps Mark Demori, perhaps Alex Leapai, perhaps Lucas Brown if he would be unsuccessful against Ruslan Chagayev. But beyond that, he's got to be looking at other fights. I know there's supposed to be interest from UK promoters in him. I'm sure there's plenty of interest from US promoters. Bearing in mind I think he's based in Las Vegas himself, Parker. If he goes over there and he makes the name for himself in the UK or in the US, like Anthony Joshua has done, he's going to be a pay-per-view star because he's got it. He's got it. He's got the support. He's got the skills. He's got the look in ring. But I think he needs that much bigger platform, and I think without that, he's really going to struggle to generate the money and generate the interest in his career that's going to bring the grade A fighters to fight him. So, for me, Parker's team have done a good job so far. But if they're complaining about being ducked and being avoided, perhaps they have to look at what more they can do. And I think fighting internationally will add a huge amount of credibility to Joseph Parker's name and mean more opponents are likely to fight him. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? If you've enjoyed this, please hit the thumbs up button. Do subscribe to the channel. I've got some more stuff coming I wouldn't want you to miss out on.